Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. Hopefully you guys are all doing well out there, enjoying your day. Hopefully the rest of your day has been good for those of y'all who are watching, and it's, near the end of the day, or you are just waking up. Good morning to all y'all. I know you guys are watching from all the corners of the world right now. But yeah, we got to talk about this one. This is a fairly short show, but I wanted to talk about this because this is a big story. This is a very, very big story. We already know. We've been talking about this. Everybody has been talking about this. Elon Musk possibly taking over Twitter, having full ownership over Twitter. And I know there's a lot of people that have been very excited about the possibility of not being flagged or not being banned for speaking their minds on Twitter and all that. And, of course, people of the likes like, well, Jordan Peterson, for example. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. But the thing is that now we got some new information. Mr. Elon Musk, Mr. Rocket Man, decided to pull out of this multi-billion-dollar deal. Now there's some information here saying that Twitter is now getting their legal team together because they're looking to sue Elon Musk. I guess sue him into buying the app. I don't know. This is the strangest thing. I got a very, very wonderful individual coming on to the show with us. We're going to be bringing Christopher Melcher on just a moment. But before we get into everything, because he the man with the plug. He's the man who's got the information. He did a really great thread on Twitter, which we are going to be deep diving into as well. So get ready. We got a lot to talk about. So before we get into everything, the procedure. Hit that like button down below. Send those likes all the way up. That would really, really mean a lot, okay? And, of course, if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button, okay? We got a lot to talk about in this particular situation because here it is. What does this mean, right? We also got to talk about that. What does this mean for the app? Back to regularly scheduled programming, or is there something else around the bend? We got to talk about all this stuff. So we will be jumping into it very, very shortly. But of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Get comfortable, man. We're about to get into some things, yo. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, we have Elon Musk was working out a $44 billion deal with Twitter. He wanted to take over and basically say, hey, I want to relinquish all these things that are banning people. I want people to have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, do whatever they want. Basically, let it be no holds barred. The wild, wild west on Twitter again, I guess, before, I guess, bots and bans and all this stuff started happening a few years ago. But now, all of a sudden, he is now fully dropped out. And there's so many questions I have for this. So many. So, of course, I got to bring on my good brother. You all know and love him, Christopher Melcher, to the show. Hello, my brother. Happy evening to you. Thank you so much for hopping again on the show twice. So good. He had to come on twice. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, Christopher, for being here. Really.
Well, yeah, I love to be here. So thanks. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have something a little bit different to talk about. And this is an interesting story and hopefully some good takeaways for any of us. Obviously it's big business, lots and lots of money, but still it's this mind game that's being played between Elon Musk and Twitter. So it's super interesting.
It is definitely interesting indeed. I mean, the thing is of course, in the very beginning, right? Elon Musk said, hey, I'm going to go in here. I want to take over Twitter. I want to buy it. Right? Seemed as if it was kind of like a joke at first. People were like, there's no way you can buy this thing. There's no way you can buy this business or, this company. And lo and behold, he put out a deal. it looked enticing or at least attractive enough for Twitter to sit there and say, yeah, let's chop it up. Let's get this thing moving. So then they start moving. Of course, we already knew that they were in talks, money talks, negotiations were bouncing back and forth. And then out of nowhere, Elon pulls out of the game. I mean, we already know his pullout game isn't very strong. He's got twins that just came out just a few months ago that we just found out a couple days ago. So he's not a fan of pulling out, allegedly. But now he's pulling out of this whole multi-billion-dollar deal. So I got to show you guys this really quick. And this is just an article, just the title of this article, because we got a lot more to dive into here very, very quick, very shortly. But here it is. After he pulls out of this deal, after he reneges on this deal, Twitter assembles legal team to sue Musk over dropped takeover. Now, I got so many questions about this, Christopher. So many damn questions. Now, first off, I gotta ask, can Twitter even do this? Like, they're basically almost bullying him into actually staying in the deal. So how does this work?
So they're well beyond talks. They have a 95-page agreement that I've read, so that commits them to this deal. So this thing is signed and sealed, just not delivered. And the contract says that if either of them breaches the contract and, this sale is terminated as a result, that person owes $1 billion. So if Elon Musk broke the agreement by terminating it, without good cause, he owes Twitter $1 billion, and he agreed to that. So this was their deal, and this is commonplace in any kind of transaction. So if you ever bought a house before, you go take a look at it, you negotiate on the price, you make a contract, you put a deposit down, but then you have a little bit of time to do your inspections, get your financing in order, and if you don't move forward with the house, you lose your deposit and maybe get sued for other stuff. Or if the seller backs out, they can be liable to you. So, we don't just buy things at the moment we sign the contract. There's a little bit of a period and some due diligence that's done. So this contract said, hey, if anybody backs out for not a good reason, you owe $1 billion. And there were limited grounds to kind of back out of this thing. So what Elon's saying is, look, I had a right under the contract to see books and records of the company. The contract I looked at, it's like paragraph 6.1 says they have to provide all information that Elon reasonably requests regarding the company. And we saw him making moves early on in the deal that were really signals that he was going to back out of this thing. So he said, I want information about these fake accounts. Twitter was kind of pushing back saying, hey, we've already disclosed that we have upwards of 5% accounts are fake or bots. And he said, no, I think that there's more than that. And they're kind of arguing over it. And to avoid Elon having a good argument that the company was refusing to give the information that it needed for Elon to evaluate the deal, they gave him what they called a fire hose. And they basically said, here's the keys to the system. You got all the information, how many crazy amount of tweets that are happening every second worldwide. Here you go. Take a look at all you want. Take a look at all the accounts that you want. And there's confidentiality provisions in there about him not being able to use the info for any other purpose. So he's got the fire hose and he's going to try and drink from this thing. And that was a brilliant move from Twitter's standpoint, because they're basically saying, how can we be held responsible for not providing info to you when we literally gave you everything?
Right.
So Elon's coming back saying, no, you didn't give me everything. And the info that you did give me shows that there's more than 5% fake accounts. And therefore you guys misrepresented the deal and I want out. That's one of the reasons he's claiming to cancel.
And this is and I love that you just went right there, because that's perfect placing. And I want to pull this up really, really quick. And it says right here in this article, in this other Bloomberg article, it says right here, the pullout marks a dramatic turn in a half a year saga that began with Musk building up an equity stake, lining up an elaborate financing plan, and then striking a deal in April. Throughout, Musk has accused the company of misleading the public about the number of automated accounts known as spam bots on his platform, culminating with a termination letter sent Friday. So this is the part that I'm confused about, because so let's continue on a little bit more in this one more paragraph. Twitter made a quote unquote misleading representations over the number of spam bots on the social network and hasn't complied with its contractual obligations to provide information about how to assess how prevalent the bots are, Musk's representative said in the letter included in a regulatory filing. So in other words, the way I'm breaking this down is that Elon Musk asked Twitter, or Elon Musk's people at least, asked Twitter, hey, we want to see how it works. We want to know how everything goes down behind the curtain. Not what we see, what the general public sees. We just want to see how it goes down behind the curtain. When they looked behind the curtain, or when they looked under the table, they saw a lot of things that seemed a little bit unsavory. That maybe that there were more spam bots, more fake accounts than there are actual accounts. And maybe that's the thing that, I mean, obviously it sounds like that's the thing that Elon Musk is leaning on and trying to say, this company's, it seems like it's really janky. It seems like that's what they're trying to point out. Am I at all in the ballpark here, Christopher?
That's exactly right. And Twitter came back in their response recently saying, hey, we didn't withhold anything. We didn't lie about anything. We've been upfront. We've got, 5% of our accounts are fake or these bots. But the other thing that they said is in their kind of defense is that they're actively addressing this problem. They say they remove 1 million accounts per day, 1 million of these accounts per day. And so in a way, they were trying to say, hey, we're on top of this. We're policing this. We're trying to fix the problem. The message that I got from listening to that was like, whoa, this is a huge problem. Can you imagine 1 million accounts a day?
A day. That's crazy.
So maybe Elon's right that it's like, how could only 5% or less than 5% of the total accounts be bots when they are admitting that they're flagging and removing 1 million a day. So you figure if they're removing 1 million a day that they say are bots, there's got to be more than that they're not catching. And,
so. Absolutely. I mean, that's the other thing though, too. And I have to say this in defense of any huge platform. I mean, you look at Twitter, you look at YouTube, you look at Facebook, any of these big, social media platforms, Instagram, you name it. I mean, wouldn't they expect that? Wouldn't they expect more fake accounts being created, so on and so forth, because of how large the platform is?
Well, yeah. And until they started being called out about it, they didn't have a problem with it. And, if you go back to, like old days, if you'd want to like buy a ad for your company in a magazine, or newspaper when they had these, things more prevalent, that's the way we, like saw things. It would all be based on their subscribers or subscription count. And so if you were the advertiser, you would obviously pay a lot more money for, LA Times versus some little thing that's given away for free in a grocery store that, only a handful of people look at. So they're paying for the ad based on the number of eyeballs that are going to be on it. So all these platforms had an incentive to have their numbers as high as possible to make it appear that, they should get more money in ad revenues for selling their ads. And, and it's like, and if the advertiser is becoming more sophisticated, saying, okay, well, you have this many accounts. How many are active daily users? Oh yeah, we can run you this report. Look at all these active daily users. Well, an ad agency would think, well, that looks like real people because they're active. And what's really happening is that these bots, I mean, they're computer generated. I don't know how it works, but the computer somehow is generating these messages and amplifying them all over the place, which I guess if you looked at in this report would look like an active user, but they're not.
Oh man. Oh boy. So that's bad. Clearly that's bad because obviously that's turning off Elon Musk and his team, or Tesla or whatever, SpaceX, whatever the hell company that's going to be under eventually, or maybe not eventually, but hopefully, I guess eventually under some Elon Musk business. I mean, just to go off the rails just a little bit here, outside of this, in your own personal opinion, outside of the law and outside of all this, do you think that this transaction, if it goes through, do you think this is a good move for Twitter in general, or do you think Twitter is just trying to scoop that bag without even caring about the trajectory of this app?
Well, I mean, I like that Elon Musk would take over the company, because say what you will about him personally, the guy has been extraordinarily successful. I mean, basically many of the things that he has touched have gone incredibly well, and he's done things like with SpaceX that NASA couldn't do. So you got to give the guy credit for being able to get stuff done. And he is an active user of Twitter. I mean, he's got like 100 million followers. This guy's on it every day. He took a little bit of a break a while back, but I mean, here's somebody who actually uses the platform. And I think it's good when the ownership and management of a company actually uses their product. And so I think that that's all positive. What's weird about any of these things is, how do you come up with these values? $44 billion. I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's a computer program and stuff, a platform. And it's like, where is the real value there? And sure, you could look at ad revenues, but things can change, and platforms go away and others come up out of nowhere. So, all of this is very strange to me when they come up with these values, but I think it's a positive thing. But ultimately, it's like, hey, if you're interested in the deal, you go forward with it. And I'm sure that we could dig up old tweets from Elon Musk where he has criticized Twitter about having fake accounts. So this didn't occur to him on April 25th to saying, gee, I wonder if there's any fake accounts. He
Right.
knew about this. He knew about this from the beginning. So it maybe not the extent until he looks, behind the curtain. But, like I say, I'm not really buying it. I think legally he set up a decent enough case to saying, hey, I terminated for good cause. I don't owe you $1 billion. Goodbye. But, I'm not really buying it from what he's saying. I think he has other intentions here.
Yeah. Oh, obviously. I think that there's something else going on here. Clearly, to me, it seems like, I think he's just trying to sweeten the deal a little bit. I feel like he's trying to finesse it into his favor, maybe save a couple $1 billion or two. And the funny thing is you kind of talked about that on your Twitter feed, or on this Twitter thread that you just recently did a couple hours ago. And by the way, everybody, please do me a favor. Go follow this man. Go follow Christopher Melcher on Twitter. It is at CA_divorce. Again, it is at CA_divorce. This man is very, very savvy, okay, in the world of law. And he definitely knows what's going on here with this particular situation, with this deal. And what he said here, okay, of course, you're with me, so I feel weird reading what you wrote, but Christopher Melcher just said this. He says, does Elon Musk really want out of buying Twitter, or is he trying to make it suffer to lower the price? See this thread for the latest. And I mean, you can see right here. I mean, please tell us, narrate through this, what you just put on this thread.
Sure. So that first graphic is a screen grab of the stock price today at $32.65. And there's a line there, is a kind of a faint line, vertical line that shows the day that the merger agreement was made, of April 25th. Now, the price that he agreed to buy Twitter at was $54.20 a share. And once this was announced, the stock, went right up. And you could see there was a lot of upward activity before. So people were probably, suspicious, something going on here. But the price goes way up, according to what he's saying. Hey, I'll buy this at that high point. And as the public became aware that this guy's probably going to bail on the deal, the stock starts plummeting, now down to $32.65. So it's a 33% drop in value of the company from
Mhm.
44 billion dollars on April 25th to today, like 20 something billion bucks. So, Twitter has, I'm sure pissed. I mean, they're saying like, hey, you said you were going to buy us at 54. We're now trading at 32. And the reason is because you have been disparaging our executives. You're disparaging our company, which, by the way, the contract says he cannot do.
Mm.
So you've disparaged us. You've made us look bad. You said we're lying. You said that we have a lot more fake accounts than we claim that we do. And so we're suing you for the billion. Now, the contract says he owes a billion if he breaches the deal. And that's the sole remedy of the company, meaning that's all they get unless they prove that he did this intentionally. And if he did this intentionally, he's responsible for all damages that are caused. And that would mean the difference between 54 bucks a share and $32 a share, which again is, a good 15, 20, 25 billion dollars. So even for Elon Musk, that's going to hurt. So there's a lot at stake here. There is one other defense that I should mention just for completeness that Elon is raising. He's saying that under the contract, Twitter agreed that they would continue operating the business according to regular business practices until the deal closed. But they went ahead after the agreement was signed and fired a bunch of executives.
Right.
And Elon's saying like, hey, you fired all these people. These were integral to the deal. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to buy this company. You have such great people working for you. So, I want out for that reason. And that sounds pretty good. Twitter, though, is saying, no, that was just ordinary course of business. We fire people all the time. It doesn't, I don't know the details of that. Doesn't sound too smart to me to be firing a bunch of executives when a deal's pending and you have a contract not to do anything unusual. So I think he's got a better argument there probably than on the info thing. So they're kind of going back and forth at each other. But look, I mean, to me, like, who's got the leverage or power here? Elon Musk, richest guy in the world. He's worth over 100 billion. Twitter's worth, well, depending on the day, anywhere from 20 to 40 billion. So
Right.
he's worth, multiple times more than the company is. He's obviously just through a couple tweets and statements tanked 30% of the value of the company. He's saying, dare me on their own platform, which is kind of hilarious. He's tweeting saying, hey, Twitter, you got a problem with me? Just go ahead and sue me and I will reveal all of the information about this fake account stuff and bots that you don't want people knowing. So he's taunting them. And I think at some point, like it or not, they may need to go back to him and say, hey, how about a little bit less per share?
Right.
And or they're just going to say, hey, screw it, and we'll take our lumps and sue them, and they'll be in litigation for years. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was going to say, how can they prove that he intentionally dropped out of this? How could they prove without a shadow of a doubt that he is intentionally dropping out for his own, to sweeten the deal a little bit for himself?
So, there's paper trails of stuff, and a deal like this is not made by one guy in a cell phone. There's teams and teams of people. And so if Twitter really wanted to go after that angle, they would start subpoenaing all the communications between Elon and everyone in Elon's team that was dealing with this to see if somebody let something slip and said something on those communications that would reveal a state of mind that showed that they were really never into this deal, that they were doing it either to shame Twitter or to drive the price down. So, hey, people aren't always so careful in these communications. You figure in this day and age, like even if you delete it, it's there, but they're not always that careful. So, and they may develop something there, and they can go make the claim and get the headline. And like I say, a lot of these things wind up in court, and then, we lose track of the story, and it may be months or even years later that we hear something happened. And Elon has been in his share of trouble with SEC, and sometimes it turns out okay, but sometimes it's a gigantic distraction, very expensive, costly to his reputation. So we'll see where he's going with this, but he does seem to be having fun with himself, for sure.
I mean, we already know that Elon is kind of, at least from what we know, the Rocket Man seems to really enjoy being a troll, really enjoy messing around with this kind of stuff. So it's not surprising if he is out here chuckling and having a great time, just having a really good time. I mean, I saw a tweet that he put out recently, something with Chuck Norris. And he's obviously trolling and having a grand old time over this. But I do want to ask you this question. You asked it yourself. You said it out loud in this Twitter thread that you put out. But I wanted to ask you this question. It's the bottom right here on this a part of this thread. But it says, was this his plan all along, or does he have a valid reason to back out? Now I gotta ask you: do you honestly think? Do you think that this was a valid reason, or do you think he's playing 4D chess? I've been hearing a lot of 4D chess whenever I hear about this story. Do you think this is 4D chess, or do you really think he has a valid reason of backing out?
Well, I wish I knew what he knows about these fake accounts, because that has not been disclosed. So it's hard to answer that one without knowing, all the info. So I would answer it this way. If Elon has the goods to show that there are substantially more than 5% of the total accounts are bots, then he has a good reason to back out. If those executives were fired outside the ordinary course of business, this is an independent ground, he has a good basis to cancel this, regardless of his intentions at that point, because I think the contract would allow him to do that. And, he's a very smart person with a lot of smart lawyers. So he knows how to protect himself, and he may have enough right there. Again, I can't get into his mind. So I don't know, was he doing this to shame Twitter? Was he really intending wow, I'd really love to spend $44 billion on this company. And he was just so disappointed to find out that there were all these bot accounts. I don't buy that.
Right.
I don't buy that at all. So, again, hard to get into somebody's mind. I kind of think, because a couple of people were responding to that, question, and some were saying hey, I think he has valid reasons, and others saying, no, he's fishing for a lower price. And I like both of those responses, because I kind of think maybe it's both. Maybe both are true.
You never know. He could be having a good time playing this game. And he has this plan to maybe sweeten the deal or lower the price in some sort of way. Maybe when he put out that number of 44.20 billion, I think he did 4420, if that makes any sense, on 420. I'm sure he was probably putting those things out to be funny and cheeky, but then obviously once he put those things out, he's going wait a second. I mean, now that I'm looking at the house, maybe I want to lessen the dollar amount. But at the same time, as you said, there's already a contractual agreement between both parties. He has to adhere to that contractual agreement. He can't go out there and breach the contract, or he will be sued. But he's doing that now, and I get it that he's over 100 some odd $billion and all that, and it's probably fun coupons. Losing $1 billion is no big deal to him. It's just fun coupons. But still, a part of me still looks at this and going and says, but still, this is somebody who is breaking or breaching this contract in which he signed, he agreed upon him and and Twitter. Why try to mess everything up if it means that you're going to be possibly in and out of court? Maybe not you personally, but your team will be in and out of court forever. To me, I go, hey, if you really wanted this Twitter, then solidify the deal. Maybe this situation will sweeten the deal just a little bit. I don't know how you can sweeten this deal. What, you throw in a car? I mean, how do you sweeten this deal? That's another good question to throw out. Well, what would Twitter have to do to making him feel good? Christopher, what would they have to do? This is the richest man in the world. So what could they do to sweeten the deal to get him back in their good graces so that he can sign on that dotted line and he can own Twitter outright? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean it's either going to be price or terms. So they're either going to reduce the share price below $54.20, or they do something with the terms that would make it really advantageous for them, almost like some kind of financing arrangement. And that way they can say, hey, we got him to stick to the deal and he's paying $54.20 a share, but they made the terms, the payment of that easier somehow. And that way they both save face. So maybe we see something like that. Who knows? I mean, they're in a really kind of bad lock right now with each other. This could be sport. I mean, if you got this kind of money, I guess it's like, hey, you just screw with Twitter, and it's like maybe that makes him, like he just joins it and he doesn't care if he loses. I mean, I could kind of believe that. But he also has to think about his reputation, because I'm sure he would want to buy other companies. And those sellers might say, I don't want to tangle with this guy. Look at what he did to Twitter. So he's,
Right.
it kind of pays a cost if he's messing around.
That is true, because then everybody will sit there and go, don't do deals with him. He's going to renege on those deals. What's the point? Right. And especially of course, you're right. Reputation is everything. And especially if he's trying to get to Mars, how's he going to be able to do that if he doesn't have other companies and the sort backing him and making sure he can get that dream to fruition? It's just an interesting, the whole thing is very interesting. I think what happened is, in my personal opinion, I think it was almost like one of those things where he was drunk one day, he was talking some mess with some friends, which happened to be on Twitter. And everybody on Twitter, his group of friends were like, yeah, do it. And of course, his drunk ass mind said, yes, let me do this. I'm going to do it. But then he sobered the hell up and he said, oh my God, what am I doing? And now he's going, okay, crap. I don't know what to do, because this maybe, no disrespect to Twitter. I like Twitter just fine. But maybe as he looked behind the curtain of how the workings go, he realized it was an absolute cluster F. And now he's going, oh, crap. I talked this big mess. I signed this contract saying that I can't back out fully in a way without getting penalized in some sort of way, without losing some money. Damn, I just painted myself in a corner. What am I going to do? So I guess the next question is on his end, because obviously, what can Twitter do to sweeten the deal? We already talked about that. But on his end, what if he wants to back the hell out outright? What, he just pays $1 billion and kicks rocks? What does he need to do so he can walk out scot-free?
Well, that's what he's doing. I mean, right now he sent a letter termination. He's saying deal's over, and he's saying, hey, Twitter, you guys broke the deal and I don't owe you anything. And, you got to remember, like with these kind of dollars, lawyers' fees are inconsequential, right? So in a smaller dispute, we go back to the house purchase thing. You're trying to buy a house or something, and buyer seller gets into a dispute. The amount of money there isn't significant enough to warrant all these attorney's fees. You actually spend more in attorney's fees than that house costs. So that's what gets people thinking like, wow, I don't want to tangle with this. I better settle. But when you're dealing with billions of dollars, a few million or even lots of millions of attorney's fees, inconsequential. It's a much smaller kind of risk to take. So he can just, both sides, honestly, can just sit there and let have all the lawyers in the world fight each other for 2 years. And it's like, it won't even make a difference to them in the amount of costs that is. So we may see a lot of that kind of stuff going on. But if he is serious about remaining in the deal, he would back channel, go to Twitter and saying like, hey, this is what would make me happy. And maybe it's an admission, that they have a lot more bot accounts than they've acknowledged. So basically, hey, you're right. And then probably some terms that would make this much easier, because he was going to finance a good chunk of this thing. So there may be some finagling that happens there behind the scenes while their attorneys have the war of words.
It's interesting because if they do that, obviously, yeah, there's going to be a lot of different changes because there's going to be a flood, even more of a flood of people going back to Twitter because a lot of people left Twitter because of not being able to because of censorship, not being able to speak their mind, not being able to say what they want to say. I mean, I just mentioned at the top of the show, the people of the likes like Jordan Peterson. Obviously, I don't want to get into too depth with that situation, but he obviously put out a tweet that got him suspended on Twitter. He couldn't unless he took down the tweet, and he said, "Over my dead body, am I going to take down that tweet?" Obviously, if Elon Musk took over, then he would be able to have that specific tweet out, and he would just be fine. People like the likes of President 45, okay? For another example, other people that have been banned from being on Twitter, a lot of people would be coming back. And I feel like there would be a flood of more people coming back, obviously more conservative, more on the conservative side, etc., would be coming back to the platform. So when I see something like that, I see that as a possibility of more bots coming out even more, because you got more and more people creating more crap, fake accounts, shadow accounts, so on and so forth, just so that they can be on that particular account. So I still see that no matter what, even if Elon Musk sits there and says, "Hey, no, there's so many bots and all that." Well, there's going to be more when you take over. Everybody and their mama's going to know that now it is the wild, wild west and anything goes. I feel like the amount of bots are going to triple in size. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it could. I mean, definitely could bring in a different audience. I would imagine though that Elon would put people on this that would have better efforts or success, I should say, at removing the bots. I mean, he's shown, he has the ability to do some pretty amazing things with Tesla and SpaceX. So figuring out if this was a computer generated, account or message, I got to imagine they'd have somebody that could figure that out, perhaps better than current management's doing. In terms of moderation of the platform, I mean, that is an important feature for me, to know that there is some kind of, because I know, stuff gets by and I'm looking at it, it's like, man, I don't want to see this, sexually explicit type stuff. And it's like,
Exactly.
I don't want to see this in my feed, but I don't know how it all, how it would work, what it would look under his domain. But it's a, we'll see, like I say, in the next, I would say week or two, I would think we'd get some pretty good signals. Is this a completely dead deal? And if so, we're going to see messaging coming out of Elon's side that's pretty clear. Hey, we're done. There is no going back to this deal. Versus maybe some quiet time that would show that the parties are working. Because when they're working behind the scenes, they're usually going to embargo all these statements and saying like, hey, keep it quiet, because you can't be knee deep in a negotiation, and with your partner here, and then all of a sudden you're talking stuff in the media. So that gets things derailed. So a good sign for the deal would be if we don't hear them, either side making statements. So if both sides are quiet, that means they're talking. If they're still chipping at each other, that means, this is going south. And, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting to watch. I like to always learn something from this. So it's like, hey, the negotiations, I mean, we have to beware, if we're selling somebody something or engaging in a transaction with them, that they're going to try and renegotiate on us. And that's why we, want to look at our contract and make sure it's tight, that they can't do that. There's also opportunities if we're not happy with a deal to go and renegotiate it before we consummate it. So, lessons to be learned. We're not dealing with billions, but we may be dealing with a lot smaller amounts, but still lessons to be learned from this transaction.
No doubt some lessons to be learned. I mean, I am very interested to see what happens over the next couple weeks, next couple days. How quickly Twitter responds. Obviously they're saying that they're in talks with trying to take some legal action against Elon Musk. We'll see if they actually follow through with that, or if we wake up tomorrow morning with the news that a lawsuit has been filed. It'll be very interesting to see what happens here for sure. And of course, me personally, I'm still on the fence on if it's a great idea. Having Elon Musk take over, it might be a great idea, it might be the worst idea, especially when I think about ripping the Band-Aid off or unleashing the tidal wave of whatever you want on there goes. I'm wondering if he's going to say, you could do all this except this. There's still got to be some sort of borderlines. There's still got to be some guidelines that I think the app still needs to have, because it can go off the rails really, really fast. And then if it's in the wrong hands, and I'm not only just talking about bad people out here, I'm talking about kids too, y'all. Kids hop on that Twitter and it gets crazy, So hopefully they'll be able to, really shape it in a better way so that everyone can go on there and be able to express themselves, speak their minds safely, and it doesn't turn into something worse, like some other things that we've seen on the 6th, if you get what I'm saying. But I digress. Christopher, I want to say thank you so very much for being on here. I really do appreciate it. That was a really great conversation, some really great information that we all needed to know, because this is some crazy stuff. This Twitter deal with Elon Musk is very, very interesting, and we are all watching it because for the most part, a lot of people rest on Twitter, and get to put in their 2 cents on whatever platform they have within 150 characters. It's something that we all care and love to do. So I'm interested to see what happens here in the near future. But again, thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, man. And also, I want to say this really quick since you're on here too, and it's a little bit of a left turn before we wrap up the show. There's some new information revolving around the Uvalde school shooting that happened a couple months ago. Allegedly, sometime this week, they are going to, they have requested to release the actual footage from inside the school. I'm just letting you all know, if you guys have been watching, I've been, of course, covering the whole shooting that happened inside the Robb Elementary School. I will be watching that footage, body cam footage or security cam footage, right here on this show, because we need to know what the hell is going on with what happened inside that school. So I just wanted to let you guys know before we head off, and it would be great to have you on there as well to get your 2 cents legally revolving around that particular shooting. But that is something that is hopefully we'll find out. We'll get that out, or they will release it tomorrow. I'm hoping, because there needs to be more transparency around that particular massacre, that horrendous massacre that went down in Texas. So again, love to have you on if you got some time. And again, thank you, Christopher, for dropping nothing but knowledge right here on the Pascal Show.
Yeah. See you next time.
Absolutely. See you soon. Guys, and real quick, before he takes off, one more time, let me pull this up again. Please go follow this man, all right? He is very, 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 very knowledgeable, all right? Follow Christopher Melcher on his Twitter page. It is at @CA_divorce. Again, it is at CA_divorce. You can see him right here on this show. If you like seeing his, seeing that beautiful putum, okay? And you can also see him over on Popcorn Planet as well. He's dropping knowledge over there all the time with Andy Signor. So anyway, again, thank you, my brother. I'll be talking to you very soon.
Excellent. Thanks.
Bye. Again, guys, please go and check him out. Follow him. He is amazing. Okay. And as you saw in that conversation, I mean, it's short and sweet, but hey, he came out with bangers, and it was a great, great conversation. So if you appreciated the conversation, please do me that solid, y'all. Damn. Okay. I'm trying to give you knowledge, trying to give you some information so you can go home and take it, ruminate, let it marinate in your juices. All that juices go down into your plums. Okay. So please do me the solid. Hit that like button down below. Send it past whatever, how many likes, send it past 200 likes really quick, okay? It don't cost a thing, all right? And if you're watching on YouTube right now, please hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that follow button. If you're watching on Twitch, follow. If you're even watching on Twitter, hit that follow button. And for those of y'all who are on Twitter, on the twits, do me a solid. Go follow me on Twitter. It is the Pascal Show, one word. And of course, I am also on TikTok as well. I'm starting to put more content out there as well over there. So please go over to TikTok if you are a TikToker, okay? And follow me over there. That is the Pascal Show, one word as well. All right? Check out my Patreon. It's in the ticker. I got that join button down below if you just want to support this channel. And of course, I got the merch in the description box down below. Check it all out. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys? Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Do something positive. Spend some much needed time with your loved ones. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Oh, by the way, tomorrow morning, noon. Okay? Noon. Central Standard Time, I will be on with Steph, the Alter Nerd, live on the show. So be sure to tune in. It's a family affair, y'all. We're going to have a good time. All right? See you guys then. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.